This is CK at CK Education, and today I want to talk about the 5 needs that everybody has in life. The first need is, and I'm going to use the all P words, and they also have corresponding S words, so it's a little bit easier to remember. But the first P word, the first need that people have in life is protection. Protection, and when I say protection, the corresponding S word would be security. We all need security. Physical security for sure. We need to feel safe in our homes. We need to feel safe in our neighborhoods. We need to feel safe in our schools, in the places that we go to. We need to feel safe in our families. We need to feel safe with our friends. And so there is that literal physical protection, security that we need. But security goes beyond that. People need a sense of security in their life in general. So not just physical security, protection, but they need job security. They need to know that there's going to be a job, that they're going to have a job, they're going to have income coming in, whether it's they're working as an employee or as an employer and they have their own business. They need that security. They need to know that they have enough money saved up in case there's an emergency. They need to know that, if something happens, and they need to get medical attention, that they have insurance. And so insurance is a form of security that people have. 401k plans and various retirement plans are a form of security that society has created so that people can feel like, well, at some point, if I cannot work or I don't want to work anymore and I retire from my job and I want to quit my job, I have some money saved up. And, paying off your house and paying off your debts is another way to get financial security. So you feel like I don't have a lot going out. You have much more room. You have much more flexibility in your finances every month because you don't have all this money going out that you used to have going out. So, there is that sense of security. You need to know that your kids are going to do well. You need to know that your family is going to be well off. I mean, there are all these kinds of things are forms of security that give us security. Now, on the other hand, when people don't have security, I don't know if I'm going to have my job. I don't know if they're going to lay me off. They're doing a restructuring or they're cutting their budget in the organization or in the agency or whatever, and I might get cut, I might get laid off, or I just don't know. I'm 60 years old and I still have 15 years left on my mortgage, and I just don't know if I'm going to be able to continue to work that long. Can I be able to afford this mortgage? Or currently I'm living in an apartment, but I want to buy a house, but I'm not really sure. I'm middle aged and I have some money saved up. I need to save up more money. And then how long is it going to take me to pay off this house? Or I have a health problem, and so I don't know what's going to happen exactly. I don't know what the costs are going to be. A lot of this revolves around money, doesn't it? Because everything revolves around money, and it's so important. That's why it's so important that people manage their money well. I find that when people manage their money well from a young age and they set themselves up well in middle age, they have much more security. They feel more at peace. They just have a sense of peace of mind, and people don't get into as many arguments and fights, in the house with their spouses. They just have better health. I mean, because they have this sense of security that I'm okay. I'm okay financially. I have enough money. I've been wise with my money. My debts are paid off. And when you're in that situation, there's much more security. Now, people need this. People need security. But the problem is, I see a lot of people, although every person needs and wants security, they do things to make themselves insecure. They make their financial situation insecure. They make it so that their relationships become insecure. And so they do the things, they really need security. But people do the opposite, and they get the results that they don't want, and then they wonder why they're not so happy. So it's so important that you plan well, because we all want and need and crave security. And it's very important that we set ourselves up and our families up to be secure. Okay. The next thing that people need is predictability. And the corresponding S word for that would be stability. Stability. People want predictability, stability. People need this. Routine. You need to know that tomorrow when you wake up, your job is going to be there. You know that when you get to your job, there's a certain familiarity there, that you know what to do, and every day you're just going to do that thing. You're just going to do that thing. The stock market, whenever you read, if you follow the news, the stock market and politics and how these things interact and impact each other, you see how the stock market, when it gets jittery, when it gets, when there's no stability, when there's no predictability, it goes wild. And then a certain president comes in, or a certain president says a certain thing, or a certain economic report comes out, they feel more stable, it's predictable, and so they sort of calm down, and the stock market grows. But this is the same thing with in personal life as well. You have to know that there's a certain routine, and so routines are so important. Okay, now if you only have routine, if you don't have variation in your day-to-day life, then it gets boring. But that's another factor. The variation, yes, you should do different things and discover different things and new things, but that doesn't negate the fact that we still need, crave, and want stability and routine. Every day is important to set up a routine. Every day, the way you think, the way the things that you do, your diet, the things that you eat, how much you eat, how much exercise you get. All of these things is very important that you have a routine, because here's the thing. Our emotions go up and down. And if we base our day, if we live every day based on our up and down emotions, our life is going to be pretty screwed up, because we're going to be very inconsistent. And the only way to achieve things, and the only way to get to our goals is to be consistent. Every day you got to do the things that get you closer to your goals. And you got to set up a routine. You may not feel like exercising, but because you have a routine, you just do it. Some days you feel like doing it more than others, but you just do it. You don't feel like working on your business every day, but you know you have a routine every day. You know, there's a certain diet that you have, and then you have a certain routine. And it's very important to set up routines, that you don't just randomly do things every day. Now, again, as a base, you do that, but there are spontaneous things you need in life as well. You need variation, and you need to do things. Hey, why don't we just go? We feel like going to the beach. Let's get in the car and let's go. Or we feel like eating out. Let's go out. Like you need that spontaneity as well. But the foundation of everyday existence, we need routine. So we have to set that up, and it's very important to set that up. Some people have no plan. Some people have no routines every day. And this is why, and then they wonder why they never get anything done. They can never accomplish their goals. They never reach their dreams, because they don't have the routine set up. And you have to have that routine set up every day so that you can get to where you want to go. The third thing that people need, everybody needs, is people. And the S word would be social. Everybody needs a social life, people, friends, and people you talk to, people you hang out with, people you interact with, people that you have fun with. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, neighbors and community people. It could be your sibling. It could be your parents. It could be your kids. It could be your family. It could be your close relatives. Whatever the situation is, though, it's very difficult for people to just totally be by themselves, like solitary confinement. I don't need anybody else, and people just aren't created to be that way. And this is why in prisons, when you send them off to solitary confinement, and people are by themselves for a month or 2 months, that's sheer torture. People go crazy mentally, psychologically, when you put them in those kind of situations, because we're not created to be like that. We're created to mingle. We're created to interact and talk and share stories and share experiences and create memories. And so this is why it's so important that even as a family, a lot of dads, they come home, they just click the TV on, they're just in the zone, they're just watching that, they're not interacting, and or sometimes the mother comes in and they're in the kitchen, they're just doing that, and then they're not interacting. The kids go to their bedrooms and they're doing electronics, they're not interacting. it's so important that we create that social atmosphere, even within the family, that you're constantly interacting. It's in some families, the only time you get together is at dinner time. And then everything else, once dinner is over, everybody goes to their separate corners. And it's like everybody voluntarily goes into solitary confinement. And then they wonder why the family dynamic is so messed up and nobody wants to be with anybody else. And whenever you go on a trip or something together, nobody seems to enjoy it. The kids are bored. The parents are frustrated because you didn't create that dynamic at home every day. And that needs to go on a daily basis. So it's not just meeting a lot of friends and having a lot of friends. I think much more important is what happens inside of your home. And you create that sort of social atmosphere. It's very important for people to interact face to face and talk to each other and share feelings and create memories that way. The fourth thing that everyone needs is purpose. The S word here would be sacred calling, a sacred calling. And I say sacred calling because I think that this is something that we are created with. And when we're born, God has given us, certain passions and talents and desires and skills that we can develop. And so if we don't do that and we're not true to our own specific calling and purpose in life, and we start living the way people expect us to live, my parents expect me, or someone else expects me to be a certain way, and we do that rather than following our own specific purpose and calling, people tend to regret that and be miserable. Okay, so it's so important that you look inside of you. You got to go back. You got to go back to when you were a child, and you think, what kind of things that I love to do. I mean, it was just a thrill to do those things. And I'm not saying that I love playing Legos, so I love playing Legos, so I'm gonna go work for Lego or something. I'm not talking about that. But it's you think about the things that you love to do, and you got to focus on those things and sort of use those things to find and discover the thing that you were called to do. And it's very important, but it often links to something, a passion that you had when you were very young. I can remember, as far back as I can remember, I mean, I always loved to teach. I always loved to learn things, organize it, explain it, and teach it to people. I've always loved to do that. And so guess what I'm doing now? I'm teaching. Even when I was an engineer for nearly 15 years, I spent a lot of time teaching and explaining and consulting. That was just a natural thing that I love to do. I always loved to write, and so and that's just something that I naturally like to do. And so there are things that I just naturally like, that I feel like I'm comfortable in that zone. I'm pretty good at it, and I can, with some practice, I can get excellent at it. And so you keep doing those things, and those are linked to your purpose or your specific calling. And sometimes, not sometimes, but you gotta, in the quietness of your own heart, you gotta really be honest and self-reflect and look at the thing that you really, really, really want to do, that you need to do that, you should do that in your life, and that is a thing that you need to try, okay? And sometimes it takes a few trial and errors to really find that, but you gotta take that step. If you never take that step and you only stay in this little comfort zone that somebody else created for you, you're gonna regret it in life, because you will not have lived your purpose. You're living someone else's purpose. You got to live your own purpose. And the last thing, but certainly not the least important, is peace. And the S word that corresponds to this would be serenity or peace. And peace in your heart. This is not something that someone else can judge. Only you know in your own heart if you really have a deep sense of peace or not. Now, you can fool a lot of people. You can even fool yourself. You can do a lot of things. And, people jokingly say retail therapy. Whenever I get down, I do retail therapy. So I go buy some things and it makes me feel better. Well, it makes you feel better for a week. And then after that, you're back to the same miserable sort of this distress that you feel inside all the time. You just wonder why. You got to slow down. You got to be still. And in the quietness of your own heart, you got to figure out, how do I have peace in my heart? And the only way that I know, that I found, that I've experienced to have true peace in your heart is to get this connection with God correct. I'm not talking about religion at all. I'm not talking about whether it's Christianity or Islam or Judaism, or I'm not talking about religion. I'm not talking about Catholicism. I'm not talking about religious activities. I'm not talking about praying certain times a day or going and doing certain things or going on Sunday to church. I'm not talking about those things. Completely apart and separate from that, I'm talking about just in the quietness of your own heart, in your own being, you and the Creator, what kind of connection, what kind of relationship, what kind of dependency do you have with God? And that, I think, when you get that straight, that brings a peace that you have never known before. It has to me. And I think that's really the only way to have permanent, eternal hope, peace, and just sort of this sense of calm. It sort of makes the jitteriness of your heart subside. And so you got to have that peace. And if you don't have peace in your heart, if you don't have serenity, true peace and true hope, what happens is you go through life and you get so busy, it's so noisy, there's so many voices and there's so many things to do that you do all the things, but in the end you say, I did all these things, I accomplished these things, I even made a lot of money, but I got an empty heart. I don't know what's wrong with this. I just don't understand why this is so hollow inside. And it's because we never figured out the most important thing, which is our relationship with God. And so we got to figure that out. So these are the 5 things that every human being needs, wants, craves, desires. And so, keep that in mind. Go back and see which areas you lack and which things that perhaps you need to work on. And I've done that, and I do that in my own life as well. I don't like to talk about anything that I haven't done myself. I don't like to try to, act like I know something when I don't. When I don't know it, I don't even talk about it. I often joke to people, have you ever seen a video that I made on how to raise daughters? I have no videos like that because I don't have daughters. I have 2 sons. I don't know how to raise daughters. I've never done that. So I don't talk about that. But I do know some things about raising sons, raising boys. And so I do make videos on that. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. And I encourage you to watch many more of my videos on my channel that deal with things like this, as well as personal finance and career advice and mindset for success and parenting advice and things like that. So I hope you find them all helpful. Thank you so much for watching this video and staying with me up to this point. And until my next video, I hope you stay well.